Welcome to another marvelous episode of College Football Showdown. I am the governor of college football. And with us today, filling in for my boy Jalen Wilson, is the waviest to ever do it. My boy CFB Moon. Moon, what's popping?
What's popping? I'm happy to be on another episode, my brother. And episode 88 is going to be spicy since we're talking about Big 12, Big Bill Connelly, and returning production. I'm excited for today's show, bro. How are you?
I'm doing magnificent, brother. You know how I do it, man. But yeah, like I said, I'm feeling great, ready to talk some college football. Spring is in the air today. I don't know what the weather is in ATL, Georgia. What are we doing for you? But in the DMV, yeah, it's sunny and 70 degrees. So I'm feeling good, man. You ready to talk some college football? And this is my favorite.
Yes, sir.
Following us for a while. No, I prefer to talk college football in the off season. This season is easy. Yeah, do it when there ain't a lot of topics and really show me what you know. You know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into it. Bill Connelly of ESPN, one of my favorites. He released his return production stat. A lot of us know there are certain stats and certain metrics that I hate, like average depth of throw. I think is a empty stat. I think it's a baseless stat. The founder of the air raid offense, always said get the ball as quickly as possible, people in open space and let them do what they do.
And let them cook.
Right. Return production kind of tells me what type of program you're building, the foundation that your program is on. And if, hey, are you truly developing players or, are you going through the portal, snatching players out of the portal? And that's how you continue to build teams year in and year out. I think you need a decent amount of both. I would prefer more of via high school and with some addition of players through the free agency, just like in NFL. Your teams are built via the draft. Hey, you use free agency to pluck a few holes, but your team is built through the draft. So let's get into it. I'm going to read off the top 10. Now let's do the top 20 return production. Number 1 is Clemson. Clemson is a team that you've been high on, and we'll talk a little bit more about them later because I think even before this came out, you were already high on Clemson. It's a program, probably. Would you say this is the school we have the best bond with overall? Is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Clemson probably has the best bond with us as far as CFB Nation. They treat us amazing every time we go there.
That's from the beginning. I mean, before the website, before our YouTube is, was that where it is today. Clemson gave us a shot early on, and they showed us a lot of trust, and we were thankful for them.
From the beginning, like really, they were the first ACC school to hop on the wave and like believe in us for real, and that really helped propel us a lot.
They were, and I think it was followed by Maryland and a couple of other Power 4 programs. But yeah, Clemson really got it kickstarted for us, and I'm truly appreciative of them. Coming in at number 2, and the Clemson has number 1 return production offensively at 86%, 75% defensively. Number 2 is Arizona State. We figured they would be high on this list. Illinois, I think what Brett Bielema is doing in Champaign, a lot of people are bought in. And if people who think that last year was a fluke, I think Illinois is going to prove that, last year wasn't a fluke. Texas Tech, team I was really big on a few years ago. I think I'm on the bandwagon again, coming in at number 4 with 75% overall return in production.
I know you love Texas Tech, bro.
Kansas State is another friend of the program. We'll just say a friend of the program for now. There's other things we feel about the program, but they're definitely friends of the network, and we appreciate them coming in at number 5 at 73%. Texas A&M at number 6 at 71% return productions. Rutgers coming at number 7 at 71% return production. Vandy, a lot of people think last year was a fluke for Vandy. Vandy does have a tougher schedule this year. They have 70% return production. Boise State 69% return production at number 9. And Oklahoma, the Sooners at number 10 with 69% return production. We'll go to 20. Baylor number 11 with 68% return production. Cincy 68% return production. Stanford, 67% return production. They're at 13. And we figured they would be high. They were high on this list last year. Stanford was number 3 or 4 last year in return production?
Absolutely.
USF, Alex Golesh. Alex Golesh is one of my guys in this sport. They're at 14 in return production. Liberty, surprisingly, is at 15. Another school we have a really nice bond with. Looking forward to their spring game. I think we're about a week or so out from their spring game. Season credential, with them. They show us a lot of love. Arizona at 16 at 66%. Missouri State, welcome, by the way.
Welcome.
Big leagues. We did have 134 teams last year. This year we had 136 teams as I silenced my alarm. And welcome Delaware and Missouri State. At number 18, Florida, Billy Napier. He's getting it done, man. Back-to-back top 5 recruiting classes, recruiting cycles, and 18th from return to production. And we're going to talk about on threes list made by Ari, who I think does a magnificent job on the show that he's on. There's some places I'll disagree with, but there's some places I couldn't agree more. At number 19, we got Troy, and number 20, we welcomed them a little bit earlier, but Delaware, welcome to the FBS rank.
The Blue Hens.
5%. So, Moon, we're going to talk about Clemson, and we're going to
Yeah.
talk about Clemson in great detail. But what's some of the things that stand out to you about this list? And how do, in your mind, you and I are both algorithmic guys. We like using, certain metrics and, our eyes and what we saw last year to kind of predict and this is, a part of how we predict what teams may look like, plus looking at other things like strength of schedule, things of that nature.
Yeah.
So looking at this, what are some things that really stick out to you? And let's specifically talk about the top 20, and we'll talk about the bottom half a little bit later.
Okay, cool. So outside of Clemson, Arizona State being at number 2 is just striking, very much so, because Kenny Dillingham got the job done last year. And I'm more interested into how he's going to handle the approach this season. Last year, nobody picked him. Right. Like we kind of fell into it too. We raised our hand.
We'll
talk about Big 12
media. I think I had them dead last.
I had them last too. I'm not gonna hold you, but they surprised us and everybody.
Right.
But having both a top 5 offense and 4th in returning production, and then 2nd at 79% is truly sensational, and it just showcases that. You talk about this is something that you would think would be the case when you're talking about like an Iowa State, right? You talk about returning production on offensive defense.
They had a high percentage last year.
The Sun Devils. Let's just make no mistake about it, bro. They loaded, particularly on defense. 80% impact players coming back, 4th nationally. I just really think that the experience and growth potential is there, and they're just gonna have to keep tapping into it. Quarterback situation looks beautiful with Sam Levitt. They got stability on the offense.
Shout out to Dino. Shout out to D now and what they do with Debbie Darlings, and it's really hard because they're trying to hit on these players. For Debbie style leagues, they really hit on Sam Levitt. I was actually able to be a part of that show, so it was beautiful to see. And
a while ago.
I want to add one thing while you continue your Arizona State talk. Kenny Dillingham was just asked, I don't know if it was yesterday or a few days ago, hey, are you upset that, the only invite to the NFL Combine from Arizona State was Cam Scatterable? He said no. He said success happens over years. He said if we go ahead and do again, this year what we did last year, that's coach speak.
Yes.
Now he's really trying to build a program and really build a foundation. So I was excited to see. I'm like, okay. Yeah, because some people will play the victim in that moment. Like, yeah, we should have had. Yeah, you saw what we did this year. He's like, no, let's go do it again, and then I guarantee we'll have more invites. So,
absolutely, I agree with you, and I agree with him. Like, keep voicing and being that guy. Kenny seems like he's gonna keep it real with us. No matter what the stage is in their development, and they're gonna be transparent with us. And as media, Big 12 media, we appreciate it because some of these coaches be capping. I ain't gonna say no names. However, Coach King, he keep it real. So, I just love the fact that they were a force last year, underrated, and I don't think that this is going to go away. They're going to be a force again this year. And I think that their defense is going to give them a shot in a lot of the games, even though, Cam Scatterble's not there, but I feel like they'll be fine. Another team that sticks out to me, let's just talk about them. Probably the best defense of this bunch outside of Clemson. Texas Tech, like, I think it's going to be their calling card in 2025. And the way we looked at it in the past, they burned us. Still probably haven't forgiven them in a lot of ways.
No.
But anytime you can't look anywhere else around the country and just see that it's right in front of your face that they're coming back. They're going to have explosive plays on offense and defense, I'm predicting. And quarterback consistency is going to be, key for them. If they can find some type of offensive balance, especially with Taj Brooks, it's like, do they become a legitimate Big 12 contender? we'll maybe talk about that later when we get into the schedule. They're another team that stick out to me. And before I pass it back to you, Kennesaw State, like I know everybody is kind of grilling them because how they did Brian Bohannon, and rightfully so, because I wouldn't agree to have done it that way. I would have chosen to go about it in a different approach. And if you're going to move on from a coach after he's brought you success after switching multiple conferences and leagues, then give the man his due flowers. And but they didn't want to go about it that way. He's now at Tech and back at the roots. He's an option guy at the core. So Georgia Tech's on the love having him as a senior analyst. But Kennesaw State sneakily hired Jerry Mack, who has running backs coach at Tennessee, who has cut his cards for over 20 plus years of experience. And you see coaches going to the NFL or trying to get there. He's coming back to the league, the big league, in my opinion, CFB, and trying to change the tide around Kennesaw State. And I talked to you a little bit, off air yesterday, and I just said, like, they got hit so hard by the transfer portal because of this Coach Bohannon situation, bro. And, it's respectable that they got 3rd% at 78% return production. But when we look at the overall metrics of this team, Jerry Mack is going to build a team that's worthy of competing in the Conference USA. He's going to get them bigger, faster, more interior. Like, they're going to be bulky on the offensive and defensive line because I know he wants to build from the trenches. But can they be explosive on offense? That's one of my key things that I'm looking at. They brought in like a guy like Dexter Williams, for example, that is quarterback at Indiana, has a lot of starts over his belt. I mean, he has some starts over his belt at Southern too. So he's been seasoned in the game. Like, where do the playmakers come? They know they got some high profile talent coming in, at least from a metric of, because you love metrics, just finding your type of guy when the time is ticking and rolling down. So I'm just excited to see Kennesaw State up there at top 5. Like, that's ridiculous to me. Yeah.
You have to love that, especially for schools who may struggle a little bit last year. Like, Stanford is one of those programs we like to look at because a lot of times last year you hear people, oh, they lost to Stanford. Oh yeah, well this team lost to Stanford. Well, hey, they had a lot of production last year, so some of this stuff starts to make sense. Let's look at some notable teams in the bottom half. Jacksonville State, great season this year. I know I certainly didn't expect them to win Con USA this past season. We know Rich Rod is coming home again. They're at 133rd, man. We're only 28% return in production cumulatively. Another team that's down here, Purdue, and you're like, okay, well, how can Purdue get out of the cellar of the Big Ten? They only got 32% return on production. This is what losing does. Some other notable teams that I've seen quite low. Ole Miss is on this list. They only got 42% return on production, and they're about to send some talent to the NFL. But like you said, it's striking. So they're 113th ranked. UCLA, 43% return on production. Georgia is lower on this list. They're at 45% return on production, 108th offensively, and they're at that 105 spot. Texas is another lower tier return on production team that are 103rd in the nation. But I don't think neither one of us are worried about them at all. Ohio State is down here, and I mentioned both of them because both of them two teams would be 1 and 2 as we enter this upcoming season. But talk to me about Clemson. Why are you so high on Clemson? And it was one of those things like in the ACC, I think it's no secret that I think year in, year out, Dabo's going to have Clemson ready. There'll be a few seasons that, like, hey, if you use the portal, it'll be no contest. I think Louisville is another team I'm looking at this year. But talk to me about the Clemson love and how this kind of reassured, like, okay, I know what I'm talking about. Yes, it's pre-spring. We like to wait. There are stages to this college football thing. If you ever paid attention to us, you got to way too early. This is during the circuit training, during, those off-season workouts. And then as we get closer to the spring season, we begin to collect intel. Now, we do have a lot of programs that are moving away from doing the spring game thing, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to get intel from there. There's a positional battles, and we have to start getting the depth charts aligned before fall camp. We're going to still get news and intel. The media is still going to report. I'm still going to be able to listen to Bucknuts and see what the hell is going on with Ohio State. We're still going to get intel, guys. Don't worry. I know the spring game thing is frustrating. We're still going to get plenty of intel, but we are, just outside of the spring season. So now we're really starting to get to where there are teams I have in my mind, and there's the idea of who I think is going to win the national championship. I don't put it out to, I think the last week of fall
Yeah,
camp
last
is
week of fall.
when we put them out officially. But there's times I'm like, okay, I really like this team. Like Texas, I'm big with Texas Tech in the Big 12, and I'll continue to watch, monitor injuries, monitor positional battles, and see how it goes. But talk to me about Clemson and why you're huge on Clemson.
So Clemson, I'm trying to take my overall bias out of it because I know there's people out there that probably haven't had the experience of going to Death Valley or, and all that. But when you just look at it, if they can maximize their high retention rate, I feel like they can cash in and be a serious playoff contender. And people have to really take them seriously. I know the lasting image that we have in our mind is them trying to struggle to compete with Texas in Austin. However, like defensively, they remain top tier overall. They retain a lot of talent. 75% of their production is coming back. And I think that's overshadowed because their offense has so many playmakers on back. Kate Klubnik is returning to be, in my opinion, a Heisman candidate up there. We can get 2 Heisman candidates possibly in the state of South Carolina. I'll let that sink in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Clemson on 86% returning production on offense. And that's the highest in the nation. To me, when I look at the way they're constructed, most people will look at the fact that they're losing the running back position with Phil Maffa. They just lost Will Shipley. What are they going to do? But my opinion is that they're probably going to end up starting a freshman, Gideon Davison, and they're going to probably have to rotate between Izio and David Izio and Keith Adams. So I'm just going to bank on it's going to be a rotation by committee, but don't get caught up in the running back talk and look at the fact that their offense is an air raid system.
Since Dabo Sweeney's been the guy in Clemson, when's the last time they had a running back problem? The answer is
all the way back to CJ Spiller.
They haven't. And back then they had CJ Spiller and James Davis. The answer is they haven't.
And now they don't have. You remember a couple of years ago when Clemson had a quarterback problem, they couldn't get that part right. They don't have that anymore. Cade is going to take that next step this year, and he's the leader of the team. He's going to have to take that next step as far as like overall command and leadership from a team perspective. We know that he can ball out, but it's just like Avery Johnson is the difference between Kansas State being 8-4 and 11-1. The same is the case for Cade Klubnik, and the reason why they can make first round in the college football playoff or win a national championship. And I think it's taking it up. They're going to run an air raid system, and you bringing back TJ Moore, Bryant Wesco, Antonio Williams. Come on. Their offensive line is loaded. Tristan Lay, Harris Sewell.
He really showed out towards the end of the season as well.
Walker Park is still there in the consistency. I got to shout out Blake Miller. That's my guy. And then, they still got a plethora of tight ends to choose from. So when I look at it, offense is just loaded. They're going to have to get some consistency now with special teams with Nolan Hauser, a guy who came in and clutched and saved them a lot last year. But, some of the players that I'm looking forward to in their growth just from their defense, Sammy Brown, because he really developed last year towards the end of the season when they started just giving him more reps. Just give the kid more reps and let him cook. That's one thing. I'm looking forward to seeing Jamal Anderson, who's a junior now, in the linebacker room. He's going to be rotating in. Their secondary is deep. Pause. They got Ricardo Jones, Colin Griffin. I'm looking forward to seeing the growth of Avion Terrell in this season. Khalil Barnes at nickel, Shelton Lewis. Like, come on, bro. They are deep. Loaded. And this is with losing Makuba, and like they're still not suffering. Where the main person that I need to take that next step is Peter Woods. He is alpha on this defense, in my opinion. And I know TJ, they have a long lineage of just defensive ends that come in and just wreak havoc. Peter moving from defensive tackle to left end, right end, being more interchangeable in 2024 really gave him more exposure to see, what type of fronts that he's going to be looking at. I feel like he's gonna take that next step as a junior season, and I
Mhm.
wouldn't be surprised running a 4-2-5 defense with a mixture of 4-3 elements that Peter Woods ends up being an All-American consideration. Like it wouldn't be surprising. And then the last reason why I'm high on Clemson is just they brought in the guy Tim Allen from Indiana, and he's a high energy guy. And at some point, Dabo is like very buttoned up. Dabo, lets it hang at some points, but he gonna wear his heart on his sleeve. He gonna tell you how it is, but you need more of that in that community. And I think Tim Allen in the spark, he's gonna help tap into that dog mentality, not just from like a defensive perspective, but a overall team perspective. They know they got dogs, but it's like, can you maximize that development? And that's what I'm looking at when it comes to Clemson this year.
I love it. I think that's a fantastic take. I think you broke down the construction of the roster really well. And like you said, Dabo is in the spring season, you get to see, his funnier side, softer side. He's funny while he's on the field with
Yeah.
the ACC network, and he's commentating on the game, and you can tell he really enjoys that. But he knows how to work the hell out of the referees, and he holds his players accountable. And I think the key thing is anybody who's been around Clemson program is
Mhm.
family. And
Yeah.
it's a true family. We'll go ahead and pay some bills. Shout out to our sponsor, BetUS. Use the promo code CFB Nation, and you can get 125% match bonus on your first deposit. Let's go ahead and run that commercial. Look at you out here using all these other sports books, and you ain't even using the best one. BetUS. Get 125% match bonus when you use the promo code CFB Nation. Yeah, you heard me correctly. 125% match bonus on your first deposit using that code CFB Nation. We know that college football is in the offseason, even though we don't celebrate that. CFB Nation, we do college football 24/7, but there are plenty of things for you guys to bet on.
Who will have the most wins? OKC Thunder or Cleveland Cavaliers? Can Luka and LeBron make it all mesh to make it to the play-in tournament? Maybe you're a college basketball guy ready to risk it all for Florida to make it to the big dance.
Basketball isn't for you? Maybe you're a football guy. Well, BetUS got you covered with this year's UEFA Championship. Can Liverpool or Barcelona win it all? Will Erling Haaland or Harry Kane lead their teams to victory?
May is going to get popping when the Kentucky Derby hits town. BetUS has you covered in that way too, with all major horse racing events. Point is, type in that promo code CFB Nation and go get that money.
Shout out to Best US. Love that commercial. Really love the one that Nino did as well. So, Ari, and I don't know if you guys watch Andy and Ari on 3. I think it comes on at 8 a.m. every morning, Monday through Friday. They do a really good job. He released his way too early 2025 All-American team, and my phone is just being an a-hole all day today. And we're going to talk about it. So we'll start with the offensive side of the ball, and then we'll move to the defense side of the ball. Quarterback, you got DJ Lagway. Wow. I think this is potential just based on the sample size that we saw last year. I'm okay with it. Running back, Nick Singleton. At running back, Jeremiah Love. Wide receiver, Jeremiah Smith. Wide receiver, Ryan Williams. I think those two positions, I don't think anybody will argue with that. A tight end, Tanner Kazol. At tackle, we got Francis Managoa. We seen him at ACC Media Days last year, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's his brother.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's two of them. It's two of them. Wow. At tackle, we got Spencer Fino. And that's interior offensive lineman. We got Caden Green from Missouri. Interior offensive lineman, we got Ahmad Reed Adams from Texas A&M. And then at center, we got Jake Slaughter from Florida. So how do you like this offense? Is way too early, All-American team. What do you like on this offensive side of the ball? And what are some places that you will make a change at? I already know one for sure.
Wait, what's the one that you know for sure?
K Klubnik at quarterback, I think would be.
Actually, I was gonna double down and say that one thing that I liked is Ari's going out there like a lot of us are, but he's going to the fullest extreme and he's planting the flag. And I can always respect when somebody does that. Whether you're right or wrong, either stand for something or fall for anything, right? He has DJ Lagway as number one. That must be his guy 100%. I personally want to take him over Cade just because what I'm projecting for 2025 and just overall offense. I think Florida is going to be in a better position to lean on their running backs than Clemson is going to. It's going to be a different type of offense. So if you look at a numbers perspective, everybody got they own flavor. But I
Mhm.
love the list from a standpoint. I know Nick Singleton is your guy.
Mhm.
Him and Adam's still there. Like he chose Nick. I don't have a debate about that. Are they gonna lean in to the run even more this year and stop trying to like do this whole running back by committee personnel
Mhm.
vibes with Enokana Ninki? It's left to be discerned. But I don't really have too much debate for the wide receivers,
Mhm.
Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, going off of just what we saw last year and potential for Ryan Williams based on just what we know that he is, and what he's shown on the highest stages. Offensive line, I love the fact that he showed love to Jake Slaughter because
Mhm.
he is a dog in the SEC. I love the fact that he's showing love to SEC talent. I just would love to see. I would love to see some other conferences represented too in
Mhm.
this, from the offense. But yeah, I give it a score about like a 9 on the list because all these guys. It's not like I look at any of these guys and say, "Dang, they can't make it all
Right,
again."
right. So I think the consensus thought is alrighty. I can see how he came to these conclusions. Like
Yeah.
even if you prefer like a Drew Aller at quarterback or Nussmeyer at quarterback, or a Cave Klubnik, you can respect the DJ Lagway pick. You can respect
Mhm.
Jeremiah Love, especially after the playoff run he had. You can respect the Nick Singleton. Wide receiver, I don't think you'll get any arguments out of anybody. Let's go
No.
ahead and move over to the defensive side of the ball. Dylan Stewart, that's one of Nino's guys at edge. I don't think he'll disagree with that. Colin Simmons at the other edge. Our guy, Peter Wood,
Yes.
is getting some
Yes.
love. We both love that one. LT Overton from Alabama. You won't get many arguments there. Anthony Hill has been a guy. Has been a dude like since he was a freshman, bro. No argument there. And then another one of our guys, Sammy Brown, is on the list.
Yes.
Perkins from Ole Miss is on the list. Bob McCoy is on the list. D'Angelo Pons is on
Mm.
the list. Caleb Downs, I think he's another one of those consensus, like, right up there with, Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith. Like, okay, nobody can argue that. And then Rob Moore, I
Right.
feel the same way about Rob Moore as well. I don't think that's argumentative as well. So, how do you feel about the defense overall? Which team do you prefer? Do you prefer the offensive team or the defensive team? As far as what aligns more with your thoughts?
Defense.
Mhm.
Defense has more of my thoughts. Um, and it's just really because I see my guys in there, man. Sammy
Mhm.
Brown, love,
Mhm.
and Peter Woods getting love. That just proves and double downs even more that like Moon ain't wrong. Moon ain't
Mm,
talking out the
right,
side of his neck.
right.
I didn't even know about this before we started talking about this. Well,
Mhm.
before the segment,
Mhm.
but it just double downs on the fact that we see a lot of playmakers. Dylan Stewart. I'm under the belief that if there was any defensive player outside of Caleb Downs to win the Heisman, it could
Mhm.
possibly be Dylan Stewart.
I think we're going to see Caleb Downs a lot more on offense this year. Like,
Yeah.
'cause remember he worked out with the running backs a lot last season. They're losing a lot of production at running back in Columbus, because both of them are
Mhm.
entering the NFL draft in Keshawn Junkins and Travion Henderson. So I think we may see him. I think we might see Ohio State do a mini Caleb Downs.
They
Like,
have to.
hey, this
And
guy
I
returns
know.
kicks. He's dynamic at returning punts, and
Right.
he's a dynamic playmaker defensively. And I think, I don't think it'll be anything absurd, especially those first few games of the season when you're playing those non-con games. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he was able to get a few carries. Probably no more than 4 or 5 carries, but he better make the most of it when he
Yeah.
do touch the ball. So I think I'm in agreement with you there.
Yeah, for sure. I've non-con is gonna be even fun, like even more fun for
It,
real.
it absolutely will.
Look, the Dylan
How's that
Stewart.
again, all right? Uh-huh.
Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead. You said Stewart.
Dylan Stewart, it sticks out so much to me because everybody knows how much of a menace he is on the pass
Mhm.
rushing side, but from just being able to set the edge, being playing with physicality against the run and developing more as a run stopper, that's what I'm looking forward to. And the reason I put Heisman in there, I'm not putting anything away from Shane Bimmer in 2025. I'm not
Mhm.
putting nothing. They put him on offense, but let him catch a pass or something. You see,
Right.
you got Nick Harbor. I'm being creative. I've tried it in college football, 25, but it's great to see, and I just think he's gonna be a nightmare. If you're an SEC tackle that has to face that man, prayers up to you. Colin
Right.
Simmons, same thing. Like strength and
Mhm.
development this year. Strength development is going to be the main thing I'm looking for as far as the complement to his speed because he's already explosive, one of the most explosive edge rushers in the nation. And then his closing speed is just ridiculous too. Peter Woods is our guy. We're gonna pound the table for him every time. But this D line is actually pretty solid, bro. Like D line is probably that's why I choose the defensive side because I look at the D line and I'm like, yo, we take that D line up against that would wreak havoc on 134 teams in college football.
Probably a few teams in the NFL as well.
In the NFL.
That definitely would be amazing. So, if you are a fan of the Big 12, we're about to spend the rest of our time here talking about the Big 12. We love talking Big 12 and ACC football. The reason we love talking about these two conferences is one, we are credential members for both conferences. We had credential invites for both the ACC championship as well as the Big 12 conference championship as well. So shout out to all of the illustrious universities of both of those conferences. That's why I think a lot of times you guys see us talking a lot about Big 12 and ACC. Big Ten shows us a lot of love as well. I don't want to take anything from them. And then the other conference is the other conference. Maybe we'll see you this year. Maybe you guys can earn your name. I don't know. I'm gonna just leave it at that. So let's talk some Big 12 football. Big 12 coming out the gate, bro. They got they drew the Dublin game, week 0.
It's going global. Big 12 going global, baby. I know you love it.
There's no, NFL, for the first 2 weeks of the college football season, which are week 0 and week 1. So how do you feel about this week 0 game?
The week 0 game going to be spicy, and between what we're going to get, we love week 0 games, but this is going to be the big one. First ever week 0 conference game in Big 12 history. First time a Big 12 team is played outside of the U.S. Kansas State leads the all-time series 54-50, but 4 ties. Iowa State has been competitive. We already know that. But Kansas State won last year, so it's going to be revenge.
And can they give us what Florida State and Florida State and Georgia Tech gave us
was memorable.
Yeah, they gave us a dandy of a game last year.
I think it could top it. If we're talking about just overall firepower, I think it could top it. You got
playmakers on each side of the ball.
Yeah, and then I think the Dublin community was going to lean into both of these teams. Kansas State, the brand with Chris Kleiman and what he's building out there. I know for a fact it resonates in the discipline. And then from the other side, you get gritty, Mr. Always gonna be there, Mr. Pesting your side, Matt Campbell. He's always been there for punching above his weight. So I just think that quarterback play is going to be spicy. It's underrated.
I think he proved some doubters wrong last year. And even I called Matt Campbell out last year. Like, hey, this is going to be one of those years. Well, hey, if not now, then when? And they were able to make the conference championship. I think they just ran into Kenny Dillingham and company at the wrong time.
Wrong time. It's like a buzzsaw, bro. Right. I'm interested to see what the travel impacts are for this game because, how does that affect as far as preparation, rest, and recovery? Georgia Tech and Brent Key, he said that they had to plan for this for a while, for this game, and even down to the moment when it's happening, it's still a different experience. So
the team that brings the lunch pill element overseas, the team that brings physicality, I think has the edge. Kansas State will be able to run the ball. They'll be able to run the ball for the quarterback position. They'll be able to run the ball for the running back position.
Yeah,
they got a decent amount of return production on the line. So me heading into this game, I will give them the slight edge because I think they'll bring their lunch pill a little bit more. I think they'll travel well. I think their fan base. Shout out to the Little Apple. That's another school we have.
Manhattan.
We have a great relationship with Kansas State, so shout out to them.
Kansas State, they finished top 3 in Big 12 in sacks in 2024. Can they get pressure? That's one thing I'm looking at. Iowa State, can their quarterback play? What we gonna see? Please. Offensive line versus Kansas State. Offensive line of Kansas State versus the front 7 of Iowa State is gonna be a key matchup. But Kansas State, they averaged 212 rushing yards per game, KG. That was second in the Big 12. Can they duplicate that same type of success early on? That's going to be one of the nuggets that I have that I'm paying close attention to. Because if they do, on this stage, I have to shut up.
Yeah, I think you and I both were critical of Kansas State last year, and I think we were more critical of them because of our prediction. We both had them one in the conference last year, and we were disappointed in some of the losses that they had last year.
Absolutely.
They were just games that, like BYU, like if
There's no
you
way.
talk about a lunch pail game, and Kansas
That's
State got
true.
out lunch pail
Yeah.
last year. Yeah, BYU punched them in the mouth. Said, "What you gonna do about it?"
Nothing.
Kansas State didn't lose. Like, I hate when I see games like that, especially when that's your style. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't get beat like that. So let's go ahead and head to week 1. I think we get our first, other than week 0. I don't think we get our first in conference game to week 4. So we'll go
Yeah.
week by week. We'll try to do this as quickly as possible. Let's look
Week,
at some of the
week 1 is like the Big 12 versus the Power 4. That's the main headline.
Yeah, and I love how the sport does that. You kind of get to see where you're at versus, everybody else. And then also forgot to mention that Kansas does play Fresno State week 0 as well. So let's head into week 1. We got Nebraska versus Cincinnati week 1. We got
Arrowhead.
in Arrowhead. We got Jayville State versus UCF. Stephen F. Austin versus Houston. These are all Thursday night matchups. UT Martin versus Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State was another team I think a lot of voters of the Big 12 had, big ambitions for last year, and they completely fell flat. Kansas has a Friday game versus Wagner. What game stand out to you week 1? What's the game that stands out to you mostly?
Mostly probably TCU at North Carolina. It's the first time
that matchup.
Yeah, first time that UNC and TCU have ever played. First ever meeting. Outside of that one, I would say
2 old school coaches.
Sonny Dykes, Bill Belichick, Officer Gularu versus Hall of Famer. What we gonna get? Like, that sticks out to me. Coaching matchups, we get Scott Satterfield versus Matt Rule, 2 program builders they got different philosophies though. And it's gonna be like head on head, which one collision. That's gonna be an Arrowhead. It's gonna be spicy. Nebraska leads the all-time series versus Cincinnati 3-1. But the mixture of Power 4 versus Big 12, it doesn't get spicier than that. And then Oklahoma State has to travel, I think, to Oregon. So what is going to give? Oklahoma State put up 465 yards per game last year. We gotta be real and say, can that same philosophy work against the big dogs? It's gonna be the perfect time to check if that air raid attack can stand up against Oregon's elite defense.
And Nino and D9 were on this Hawaii and Arizona game. They said this is a measuring stick game for Arizona because they're losing faith in Noah Fafita. I'm not out on Noah Fafita yet. Was I disappointed this past season? Absolutely, but I'm not out on Fafita yet. I think the game that excites me most week 1 is this Georgia Tech Colorado game. I think this is a game that I'm looking at these teams. Okay, where's your program at currently? We know Georgia Tech, they're a lunch pail team because Brent Key is going to run the ball and they're going to play physical. And I want to see where's Colorado at? Post. Travis Hunter, post Shedeur Sanders, post Shallow Sanders. I know a lot of people was giving Shallow a lot of hate right now, and it agitates the hell out of me. Like, oh, he's getting burnt. Well, who said he's a cover safety? Like, he's a thumper. Like shut I'm not gonna say it. But you know how I feel. So I'm looking at both of these programs, and I want to see what they're looking like. Let's head into week 2. What's the game that stands out to you mostly week 2? I love this Arizona State Mississippi State matchup.
That is going to be spicy. Oh, so spicy, because Arizona State has to travel to Stark Vegas. And you want to talk about bringing your earplugs. That environment is going to be insane to witness for college football fans all around the world. And I really do feel like Mississippi State may be punching above their weight a little bit, but I feel like if early estimations, I would pick the over, because I just feel like although Arizona State is returning a lot of production on defense, it's always early season struggles. You gotta go into an environment like that with the offense that has new toys.
We get Kansas and Missouri. That's our old Big 12 matchup. We got a couple of old Big 12 matchups. Baylor and SMU. That's an old Big 8 matchup. They don't got to travel far to go to that game. You already mentioned Oklahoma State and Oregon that play this week. Iowa State. That's gonna be a damn
Skyhawk series. I'm looking forward to that one. Probably the most.
Yeah, the Cyhawk series, I love it. That games mean so much to the state. So I think that's gonna be a good one. I think my personal favorite game though is give me this Arizona State, Mississippi State. I'm high on Dillingham. I'm high on Levy. Don't write off Levy. Yes, year
Mhm.
one was abysmal, but don't write off Jeff Levy. I'm warning you guys now. This is one of those teams that I believe that is going to be bowl eligible, and they're going to surprise some teams. And even down the stretch, you've seen them start to figure it out.
Mhm.
Was it
They did.
resulting into wins? No, but they were
No.
certainly figuring it out. So let's head to week 3. What are some of the games that stand out to you? We get Oregon State, Texas Tech. I think that'll be a dandy. Iowa State, Arkansas State. Be interested to see what we get there. Get Colorado, Houston. So
That is spicy.
yeah,
They're both going
that's
to
a
be
Big 12.
desperate to make a statement win on both
Yeah,
sides. Like,
Big 12 matchup.
I think BYU and Arkansas is that week.
Yeah,
And if that's the case,
K
then
State and Arizona play this week as well. We were credentialed for that game last year. It was in
yeah.
Little Apple, right?
And the non-con, so that Arizona and Kansas State game is because of a scheduling agreement that happened with the
It
Big
doesn't count
12.
towards the Big 12 standings, though, does it?
I'm not sure if it does, but
There is one game that's scheduled, but it doesn't count towards the big, which is weird to me. Because
yeah, it might be that one.
Yeah, I think it's two. Yeah, I think it's two schools that have like an extra game. I think it's that one. I'm not 100% certain on that, but I will. I should have that answer for you. So, what game stands out to you the most this week?
Oh man, BYU Arkansas. Like, I know Sam Pittman is going to be going through some things this upcoming season because Arkansas' schedule is loaded. But who wins the battle of physicality in a matchup like this? That's what I'm looking for. And then, of course, you got Coach Prime versus Willie Fritz. Coach Prime's height versus Willie Fritz, like different discipline. It's like, not to say that the Buffaloes aren't disciplined, but to say that that's the identity, what they're trying to build over there. Houston.
Who you think will be the starting quarterback in Boulder?
Caden, right?
That's what I'm going with. If his attitude is right,
he's gonna get an attitude adjustment from
Dion,
early in spring.
Dion gonna give him that real because what I swatted him out of Liberty last year,
he quit on Liberty.
He did, 100% did. If we're being honest,
he can't do that, bro. You can't quit on a team. Like, I love the fit for Colorado. Yeah, a lot of teams could have used his services. It kind of confused me when we still had Juju still there, but it's like he gonna make that man work for that job. It's not gonna be we gonna wait for a little bit.
Spring season is going to be interesting because if we're coming out of the spring and they talk about Juju may have the lead, what Salter hit the late window portal and go elsewhere? Like, I thought he should have honestly ended up in Auburn last year.
It would have been perfect.
Yeah, I think he's stuck with Peyton Thorne. Not sure why he did, but let's get to week 4.
This is the first true week that we get Big 12 showdowns and possible statement games. We got
what do you expect from West Virginia this year.
I expect West Virginia to come out cooking with hot grease, go through a little struggle.
Down last year.
Yeah, I love West Virginia. Rich Rod. If we had a team in the Big 12 that had a lot of raised stock with us, CFB Nation, and that we were hoped to, especially West Virginia, they're the only. Between them and Marshall, that's the only way I'm going out to West Virginia on the tour.
Marshall, hey, I gotta head. It's gonna be hard because there's a lot of HBCU. I think I want to have more than just. When I had 2 HBCU weeks last year, I believe you had 2 or 3 as well. You actually, I think you might have had 4
HBCU weeks.
Yeah, I had
a lot of HBCU.
I had 2 HBCU weeks this past season, and I want to up that. I want to up that to at least 3 or 4 this year because we have great relationships with a lot of HBCU. So shout out to HBCU ball. I think we'll see it more on a national scale, and a lot of people are highly critical of Deion after he left Jackson. But look at the opportunities that have developed since then, and special. Texas Tech at Utah is going to show me a lot. That is a measuring stick game for both programs.
Top transfer portal team versus the Utes in Salt Lake. Come on, like that's
gonna be a sexy game. And then what do we get from Baylor this year? I think Baylor was better than advertised last year.
I'm still got some question marks about Dave. And I mean, let's be real.
I don't have as many as I had last year.
No, not as much, but I
Mhm.
still have. They still remain, and one of them is just like, what is the next? Like, what are your? If I had to ask Dave one question, it would probably be, what is your overall outlook on this program in 3 years? Because are you building from that mentality of this year, or you have a longer view and process? Because you got the defending champs open it up. If
Mhm.
anybody got a chance to make a statement, are you just saying, nah, like we'll be competitive, or like, nah, this is our year to push forward to 2026, 2027? Like, that's what I would want to know.
And that's a phenomenal fan base down there in Waco, and they deserve a lot of success. Let's circle this BYU and East Carolina game. This is a game. It's a
Yeah,
Dowdy Ficklin Stadium. East Carolina is another, friend of the network. Great relationship with them. I think I opened my season down there in Dowdy Ficklin Stadium.
BYU has to travel to Dowdy Ficklin.
Yeah.
Then the week after, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they got
Mhm.
to play UCF.
Uh,
Like, it doesn't get easy in the Big 12 this year,
Nah, it
man.
does. It does not. And then week 5, I mean, we're really cooking week 5. We got Houston at Arizona State,
Mhm.
TCU at Arizona State, BYU at Colorado. I'm starting to notice a trend with Colorado having a lot of games earlier. I'm not home games earlier. I'm not sure how well that bodes for them down the stretch. Arizona at Iowa State, Cincinnati at Kansas, UCF at Kansas State, Baylor at Oklahoma State, Utah at West Virginia. This is full fledged. This is Big 12 ball. This is what we live for. I think Big 12 was had put out the most exciting product last year. And I think they put
Absolutely.
out the most exciting product the year before. You talking about games that are won down the stretch. Some of these games are high scoring. Like I love watching Big 12 ball. What
It's
games?
like a different type of brand. Like the
It
feeling of the
is.
Big 12, it's like in the ultimate adrenaline rush.
Mhm.
Like
I would
sometimes
agree with that.
you can get some stale play in the ACC sometimes
You can. You can.
because of the conference and the depth. I just think those teams at the bottom, the Houston's, the those type of teams, Cincy's, I need y'all to figure it out, get it together so we can increase the overall play. Because I feel like week 5, they're gonna be labeling week 5 as separation Saturday
Yeah.
in the Big 12. Who
Who's the
ended up
contenders and
yes.
who's the pretenders? We thought last year was difficult to rank the media. When we got our media packets last year and we had to rank all of the programs, and then we,
This
we
is
did we
going
definitely hit
crazy.
on some of the superlatives and I
Yeah.
love filling out that stuff. The ACC one is cool, but I think the Big 12 is more in depth because you actually have to write in players. It's not like
Yeah.
automated way. It's A, B, or C. You actually have to write in players. So I love that. It's gonna be difficult doing it. I can't wait to do it. We did it live on this show last season. How about we do it again live on this platform as well? So
That'll be
what
fine.
games what games stick out to you most this week?
Hmm.
I found mine.
Colorado BYU.
Ooh, I like that game. And Colorado's gonna want a little bit of payback too.
Yeah.
they definitely
Definitely gonna want
they're definitely
payback.
looking for payback. I think, and I'm gonna go out and say it in Ames, Iowa. This is the week that Noah Fafita is back in good graces with national media. He's going to go in there and he's going to get a win. I think this is the
Versus
week
Iowa State.
versus Iowa State. I think this is the week that Noah Fafita goes back on national stage and he's in good graces with all of the good people of the media.
So okay. I love that, by the way. Hawaii, Weber State,
Mhm,
Wildcats
mhm.
by Iowa State. I know I'm putting you on a hot seat.
Mhm.
How many games does Noah Fafita go over 300 yards in those first 3?
Let's just say that I believe that Noah Fafita will be in contention for Big 12 Player of the Year.
Oh, my dog.
Yeah,
Flag plant.
yeah,
Flag plant. We gotta clip
yeah,
it.
yeah. We can go and clip that.
Because we bet him last year.
We did, we
Last year,
did.
outside of Shador, it was Noah Fafita.
Yeah, what it was, and too quickly I've given up on players, but I believe that they got to realize how detrimental. Not only did they switch conferences and had to get used to a new style of ball, their head coach also jumped ship as well.
Yes.
So then they had a coach from the G4 ranks come over to be a P4 coach. I think we'll see the Noah Fafita of a couple of years ago this season. So I got high stock. But the game I'm most excited to see is Utah versus West Virginia this week. I think that's
Utah,
gonna be a
West
natty
Virginia.
in Morgantown. that fan
Yeah, I
base is
shook
gonna
your
be
hand on
like.
that one. We gotta try to get there
We get
for
another
sure.
we do get another backyard brawl this year, right? I've been
Yes, we
enjoying
did
the
back.
backyard brawl games. Really been enjoying those. So shout out to Pitt, by the way. We have a great relationship with Pitt.
Week 3.
I forget their communications contact. We're not gonna say it live because we do respect their privacy. But I forget her name, but she did us justice because we were not treated appropriately when we first got there. But she made sure she rolled out that red carpet for that. What was that? Was that Pitt and Syracuse game?
Pitt Syracuse when
Yeah.
Syracuse fumbled the bag and Kyle McCord threw like 4 picks in the first.
They got destroyed. That was the week I started down in my Kyle McCord take.
It worked out for you.
Yeah, it definitely did. Then Friday we get West Virginia, BYU. This is week 6 in Provo. Then boom, we get Oklahoma State at Arizona. You know what's crazy, bro? And this sounds crazy, and a lot of people will get upset with me about this. Could we be looking at an Arizona team with 1 loss to 0 losses at this point? If they're able to do what I think that they're gonna be able to do.
If we go based on what your current prediction is, and they don't struggle with Hawaii, they put Weber
That'll
State
be the game.
Yeah, they put Weber State in the ground. They handle business against Kansas State and shocked the Wildcats. They have a bye week to recoup. Then got Iowa State. They very well could. Like, if there is a team, like if Jed Fish can get on a run, like I wouldn't be surprised, bro. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Arizona will be undefeated.
What's that game you're really looking at this week? I think this week is a sneaky good balance of games. I think I like that Friday. And maybe I'm just excited to see Rich Rod in West Virginia. Like I think that might be the playbook I use this year. I think I might in college football 26. I think I might be going with his spread option this year.
The spread option of Rich Rod. I gotta agree with you. It's getting popped off early. Week 6. I'm not gonna sleep on UCF in Kansas because I feel like that could end up being like a high scoring, crazy of a shootout game, especially with Scott Frost.
Yeah. Welcome back, Scott Frost. Welcome back to the national stage. I hope he isn't too upset at me.
No, he can't be. He can't be. That man is like,
yeah, man. I mean,
it's like UCF royalty at this point. Like they treat that man like, oh,
the birth of this company. And I mean, I was ripping Scott. Yo, that might have been my favorite season. Like as far as like Twitter being undefeated.
Yeah,
bruh. That year was crazy.
He took some L's that had us all questioning some stuff.
He did. And sometimes you got to restart to get where you need to be. And I hope he goes down there in Orlando, beautiful Orlando, and I hope that he brings discipline this time around. And not saying that he didn't have discipline before he got to Nebraska, but it's difficult to coach at home because people going to tell you about yourself. And Jeff Brown told us that.
That's why I'm kind of worried about Rich Rod because at the same time, like he knows it's coming, but bro. This is different than when it was when we had the Corey.
Back when he had the Pat Whites and the Steve Slaytons of the world. So I'm interested to see how this thing turned out for both of these programs.
Quick question. Well, quick tidbit. Did you know that Utah has a bye after that after that West Virginia week? So after West Virginia in week 5, they have a bye and they have to end up playing Arizona State. I just mentioned that just because the schedule makers know what they're doing.
They do.
They trying to make a world where Utah can figure out a way to like just be upset minded at the beginning of the year.
Who you think is the favorite heading into the season for the Big 12? I mean, why we here? We're talking about it, right?
Big 12 favorite. I feel like people are going to jump the gun and say Kenny Dillingham, but I honestly think the favorite in the Big 12 this year should be Kansas State. Or Texas Tech, one of them.
You'll be hard pressed to go against that. I think if people understand what Texas Tech is returning, my apologies, and people will understand the portal cycle that they just had, I think I agree with you. I think Texas Tech may be the favorite. And there's been this is not the first time. A couple years ago, I was high on McGuire and company. Didn't happen, no meaning it can't happen this year. So I would agree with you. It's probably either Arizona State, K-State, Texas Tech, and there's another team, and then Utah. You just can't discount Utah.
Iowa State
can't.
too, because we always end up skipping over them.
We do.
That's the reason why the Big 12 is so spicy, like this year.
And we can't forget about what BYU did last year, and if they can do it again.
Mm-hmm.
So week 8, we get Texas Tech schedule though. we get Texas Tech at Arizona State. We get Utah at BYU. We get Arizona at Houston, Cincinnati at Oklahoma State, Baylor at TCU, West Virginia at UCF. What game are you really paying attention to this week?
Week 8.
Mm-hmm.
West Virginia and Scott Frost, Rich Rod versus Scotty. Rich Rod versus Scotty Frost. That's when Scotty Too Hottie is going to have himself an interesting matchup that week. I'm telling you, because it's going to come out the hype of Cincinnati, and they're going to be trying to figure out what's going on with UCF, and they got a bye week after before Baylor. So they're going to need to like hit all gas, no breaks at this point in the season.
We got the battle at Utah. We got Texas Tech and Arizona State. There's a lot of really good games. The Arizona and Houston game can end up being a really good game. Cincy is a team that surprised some of us last season. Baylor and TCU is always fireworks.
Yeah.
Week 8 is a really solid week, and I would probably put week 8 up against any week, honestly.
And the crazy thing about week 8 is the fact we have a lot more buys in week 8. It's still quality of games. It's still there.
Week 9, Houston at Arizona State, Baylor at Cincinnati, BYU at Iowa State, Kansas State at Kansas. We get Oklahoma State at Texas Tech, Colorado at Utah, TCU at West Virginia. What game stands out to you this week?
Houston. We haven't talked a lot about them, but they're going to have multiple opportunities to go into tough environments this year and really right the ship on what we want Houston to be. Like, as far as their next stages in development. I'm really looking at their schedule, and I'm like, their middle of the schedule is loaded. Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, Arizona State, West Virginia. Like, it doesn't get easy for Houston. I'm not saying that they're going to win any of these games, but I'm saying they have that one sticks out to me. Yeah, that one sticks out to me, like, from the upset-minded kid since out there. And that's just a wild card. And then, of course, anytime Texas Tech plays, we're going to be watching.
For sure. Week 10. Talk to me. What you like?
Colorado, Arizona.
Ooh.
Colorado, Arizona.
I think the last 2 years, 2 years ago, they gave us a pretty good game that was under the Pac-12 edition. Arizona was able to pull it out. And then last year, Colorado dominated Arizona. That game wasn't close at all. But that's the game that really stands out to you. We got a Texas Tech at Kansas State. Arizona State and Iowa State. I'm telling you,
rematch.
Ames, Iowa is going to be rocking. If Matt Campbell is not going to have his team ready after the disrespect in the Big 12 in the Dr. Pepper Big 12 championship in the Cotton Bowl, I'm telling you now.
That's going to be must-see
TV. Be rocking. I cannot wait to see that game this week. I promise you, I can't wait to see that game this week.
It's going to be spicy, man.
They're going to be rocking. We may got to take a trip up to Ames that week. We may really got to take a trip up to Ames. That would be beautiful.
Outside of that, bro,
at Texas Tech, we might got
Texas Tech.
We know we could go to the Little Apple.
Yeah.
So
those are top 2 right there.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
Week 11, we got a lot more bye weeks, so not a lot of it kind of comes down. This is probably one of the lesser weeks in the schedule, but there is sneaked in there Texas Tech versus BYU.
Right.
You got Willie versus Scotty Frost in Houston and UCF.
Conference with the most parity in the sport.
Yes.
You think so?
Yes. It's more than the other conference.
You can lose. Yeah.
It's more than the other conference.
We've seen it in the other conference last year where we saw Vandy, play a few teams close, upset a few teams. But this conference, week in and week out, anything. You remember the Mad Dash? Like 5 or 6 teams had a chance to make their conference championship. Because at the end, because that's just how good Big 12 ball was last year.
I think it has the most parity more than any conference because if we have who's the worst team in the Big 12 this year?
I
Maybe
answered
Houston
that one.
versus the.
I answered that one stupidly last year. I'm not sure. I'm nervous.
But I could
UCF didn't
say the
impress
worst
me last
team.
year, but
Yeah,
that that's been trendy with Gus Malzahn. With Scott Frost back, it'll be interesting. I think TCU is gonna be better than advertised. If I was forced to pick now, and I feel like I always do this to Scott Satterfield. Cincy, even though they performed pretty well last year,
mhm.
and then I think Houston will probably be the overwhelming
But
favorite.
those
I'm not bet.
are
I'm
the
not betting
two.
against them though.
I know those are the
Right.
two
Yeah.
that we pick. Outside of that,
Good luck. Like I'm just thinking about ranking these teams down. Like it's really it's going to be some math involved. I tell you that it's going to be looking at strength of schedules, really lose using that that power index to really try to like figure some of this stuff out. Let's move on to week 12.
week 12 is going to be interesting because we got West Virginia versus Arizona State, BYU versus Utah, TCU. No, actually, BYU versus TCU, Baylor versus Utah. Sneaky game of that week, since we do have buys, Kansas State and Oklahoma State and the Cowboys.
I love that game.
I love it too. On paper, it's like it feels like the classic trap game.
Right.
Classic trap game.
Out there in Stillwater. I think Oklahoma State will be much improved this season. Last year, I'm not sure what it was.
I don't know. I don't know if there's something in the water, something in Mike Gundy's cup.
Yeah, but that wasn't a Mike Gundy coach team last year. But that's why these things start in the offseason. He handled the Big 12 media days terribly. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
and he had people really attacking him last year for some of the comments that were made. Hey, Mo, hold up. I think Bet US is on the phone. Let's go ahead and pay some bills. Look at you out here using all these other sports books and you ain't even using the best one. Bet US. Get 125% match bonus when you use the promo code CFB Nation. Yeah, you heard me correctly. 125% match bonus on your first deposit using that code CFB Nation. We know that college football is in the off season, even though we don't celebrate that. CFB Nation, we do college football 24/7. But there are plenty of things for you guys to bet on.
Who will have the most wins? OKC Thunder or Cleveland Cavaliers? Can Luka and LeBron make it all mesh to make it to the play-in tournament? Maybe you're a college basketball guy ready to risk it all for Florida to make it to the big dance.
Basketball isn't for you? Maybe you're a football guy. Well, BetUS got you covered with this year's UEFA Championship. Can Liverpool or Barcelona win it all? Will Erling Haaland or Harry Kane lead their teams to victory?
May is going to get popping when the Kentucky Derby hits town. BetUS has you covered in that way too, with all major horse racing events. Point is, type in that promo code CFB Nation and go get that money. Go get that money, twin.
Go get that money, y'all. Please go get that money, y'all. Shout out to our sponsors, BetUS. So back to week 12, we talk about some of the sneaky games. We're going to go ahead and move along to week 13.
Week 13 is loaded, my dog. I'm going to mention Kansas because Kansas has to take on Iowa State. And I feel like the Jayhawks fans out there would be like, y'all haven't mentioned Kansas this whole time. Well, you still little brother in my eyes. But little brother gets the time to shine this week because they got to play Iowa State and then Utah in the last week. A little foreshadowing, but that little stretch is just my favorite little part in Kansas' schedule.
Arizona State. Colorado tickets are as low as $161. See how much more that is than the rest of these games. This game is going to be top billing. I don't want to say it's for the conference. I'm not sure how good either of these teams are going to be. I think they'll both be in the things. They'll certainly be in the mix, but it'll be interesting to see. I think if there's let me highlight this game on the schedule.
Is that one?
Yeah, and this is preseason. I'm thinking preseason wise, and then we come down the line. That game I think may mean a lot for both of these programs. Fighting for supremacy in the Big 12. Let's go to week 14, and this is rivalry week. And damned if we don't have some good games to rivalry. We got Arizona at Arizona State. We got Houston at Baylor. We got USF at BYU. Utah at Kansas. We got Colorado at Kansas State. Yo. I think we'll go see Coach Prime that week. I think we'll
What?
go see Coach Prime that week. Yes. Iowa State at Oklahoma State, Cincinnati at TCU, Texas Tech at West Virginia. Imagine if Texas Tech is on the cusp of being in the Big 12 championship and everything, all their stakes rely on them going to a raucous environment in Morgantown, West Virginia, and they got to come out of there with the win. That will be it. That will be exciting.
Texas Tech probably has, when I looked at the schedule, they probably have the most favorable schedule. They start the year Arkansas Pine Bluff, who they're paying $300,000+ to the HBCU. That's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
They got to play Kent State, Golden Flashes, Oregon State. Then they got Utah. That first 4 stretch, they could easily be looking at 3-1.
Okay.
That's 4-0.
Yep.
They get a bye week before having to play Houston, Kansas, Arizona State, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, BYU, UCF. That stretch right there, that can hurt anybody's feelings.
For sure.
But they get a bye week after that UCF game.
Mm-hmm.
So week 14 is going to be even more masterful because it all probably could come down to them versus Rich Rod. If Rich Rod is as good as advertised and what he did at Jacksonville State is not a fluke, then I have to project that West Virginia is going to be good.
Look at the price of this game. I think people are knowing that this game is going to be meaningful in a grand scheme of things. And then, of course, we got week 15, which is, Army, Navy week. And then week 16, they don't have the conference championships posted yet. This year, I'm going to go ahead and say it now. This year, while I hope to be at both the ACC championship and the Big 12 championship, I don't think that's going to be possible. I think we're going to have to disperse. I will be at the Big 12 championship this year. I'm going to go ahead and put that on the table now. Man, and shout out to them for being nice to us. Big 12 Media Days. We there this summer?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's gonna be a crazy summer, man. I'm not sure if I'll still be at my same job, but if I am, they're gonna have to figure it out because it's gonna be that. I think we get a few days rest, and then we're gonna head to Charlotte early this year for ACC Media Days. I was talking to my boy Jalen late last night. He's like, "Man, I want to go to Charlotte, man." He's just bringing up all of these times, like we were in the Uber and we all just started laughing, like uncontrollably. And I know the driver was mad weird on the time we walked back from one of the post events that the ACC throws.
They did a great job.
We was hit a little bit, so we definitely enjoyed that, man. But Moon, thank you for joining us on the show today. I think Jalen said he will be here Thursday, but even if he is or he ain't, man, if you want to join us on Thursday at the same time slot, man, hey, man, it's been a blast. I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about on Thursday as well. As I always like to say, there are no more victories in a sport that survive in advance. That's why college football has the greatest regular season. And until next time, folks, you all take care. Look at you out here using all these other sports books, and you ain't even using the best one. BetUS. Get 125% match bonus when you use the promo code CFB Nation. Yeah, you heard me correctly. 125% match bonus on your first deposit using that code CFB Nation. We know that college football is in the offseason, even though we don't celebrate that. CFB Nation, we do college football 24/7. But there are plenty of things for you guys to bet on.
Who will have the most wins? OKC Thunder or Cleveland Cavaliers? Can Luka and LeBron make it all mesh to make it to the play-in tournament? Maybe you're a college basketball guy ready to risk it all for Florida to make it to the big dance.
Basketball isn't for you? Maybe you're a football guy. Well, BetUS got you covered with this year's UEFA Championship. Can Liverpool or Barcelona win it all? Will Erling Haaland or Harry Kane lead their teams to victory?
May is going to get popping when the Kentucky Derby hits town. BetUS has you covered in that way too, with all major horse racing events. Point is, type in that promo code CFB Nation and go get that money.